Hello and welcome to Philm Phuckery, the unhinged podcast where I romanticize the villains, ship anything with queer attention, and obsess over films that are either genius or deeply cursed. Sometimes both. I'm your host, Spencer Jones, and this season we're diving headfirst into the chaotic comfort that is the MCU. Before we get into it, I fear that I lied to you guys. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. At the end of last week's episode where I was like, see you next week for Guardians of the Galaxy, I don't know where I got that from. I was looking at my list and I was like, why is there a check mark next to Guardians of the Galaxy when that's what's next? I think what happened was I was looking at Captain America Winter Soldier instead of Captain America Civil War, and I just looked under that and it was Guardians of the Galaxy, and I was really confused, but I was kind of in a rush, honestly. So my bad. Today we're talking about Doctor Strange. I fear that there's also not a lot this episode. The Doctor Strange movies, well, this one just has a completely different tone from the rest of the MCU, I think. And it was really difficult for me to find gay undertones specifically. This one's tough. If I'm being so for real with you guys, I'll talk about it in a little bit, but Mads Mikkelsen, the guy who plays the bad guy, every time he was on screen, I'm blushing. I don't know what's wrong with me, but he distracted me a lot. So I tried to get a lot of notes, but honestly, like every time he was on screen, I was like, As usual, we'll be talking about the villain effectiveness, the gay undertones, the logic, the technicalities, and of course, the most chaotic moment. So, the villains. As I said, Mads Mikkelsen is the guy who plays the main guy, Caecilius. Here's what it is. Here's the thing. And I'm going to try to, not freak out right now. I've been watching Hannibal per my sister Ren's request. And if you haven't seen it and you like the gays and you're a little bit fucked up in the head, please go watch it because something about it, I don't know. And I'm hoping at least one other person in the world feels this way because me and my sister feel this way. He is so fine. And respectfully, Mads, the way that he looks, at first I was like, ugh, I'm not attracted to men really. I've found maybe 3 men in my life attractive. And watching it, I was like, he's just not that good looking. I don't even get it. Something about the way that he moves and the way that he acts and the words that he chooses to use in Hannibal, you guys, something about it. And now it's outside of Hannibal, I'm freaking out. So the whole time I was watching this, I was blushing, I'm sweating. Every time he's on screen, I'm like, wait, I kind of hope he wins. Anyway, so that is my dilemma with this movie, I guess. And the thing is, I've seen this movie so many times and I've never given a shit about the villain ever. I didn't even know his name was Caecilius, honestly, because every time he was on screen, I was like, okay, whatever. Who is this guy? I don't care. But now I'm like, wait, I wish he had more screen time, honestly. Damn. Anyway, I'm going to not get into that too much. But another thing about him is he's a trained dancer, according to my sister, and I trust her. She does her research, which is just why he moves so elegantly when he's fighting, which I think makes him the perfect guy for this role. He moves so fluidly and it's so beautiful. It's just perfect for a master of the mystic arts. If he's the main master, he's the best guy ever, he just turned to the dark side. I feel like he moves so perfectly for that. Anyway, as a villain though, I think it's really interesting that him and Doctor Strange are two sides of the same coin. You know what I mean? The ancient one was so worried about Doctor Strange turning into Caecilius that she didn't even want to train him at first. And then low-key he could have, because he went for the same book and then he put the pages back. I guess I understand Caecilius's point, but not really. I don't think he's super effective. I think it's interesting. It was a cool concept for Doctor Strange to defeat Dormammu the way he did, and I'll talk about it later. But I don't really understand, and maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention because I was too focused on his face, but I don't understand why he wanted to bring Dormammu there, why they wanted to stop time on Earth. They wanted to live in his, what do you call it, his little domain thing. I just don't get that. Why have all that power if you're just going to live in a land without time and it's all trippy all the time? I don't know, just me, I guess. But anyway, that's all I have, really. If you haven't seen Hannibal, please go watch it because I can't be the only one who is freaking out about it. Anyway, moving on to the gay undertones. Like I said earlier, there's not a whole lot. The main one that I found, and it's very minor, is Dr. West. He's the other surgeon guy. If you don't know his name, I honestly didn't know his name until I saw Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and then I went back and watched Doctor Strange, and I was like, right, so he's an important character. I'll remember his name. Anyway, Dr. West, the other surgeon, he kind of admires Doctor Strange a little too much, I think. And no shade, but it just is giving a little fruity, and that's the best I could come up with, honestly. Because really, the main gay undertone is just me and Mads Mikkelsen. Sorry. Anyway, honorable mention, just as a friendship thing, Juan and Steven. I think that they're so cute and I love their friendship and I love the way that it kind of grows over time. Steven is trying so hard to win over Wong and he's like, no, he's nice and he's helping him and he's like, oh, you're learning very quickly. Here's some books. These are good ideas for you to read. I'll be helpful to you, but that's like literally his job. And then Steven's trying to be funny and Juan's like, that's not really funny. Anyway, I just think that it's so sweet the way that their friendship blossoms throughout the MCU. You know what I mean? And it might just be that Wong works for him, but I don't think that's 100% of it later on. I just feel like they grow to be besties. You know, I love it. Anyway, speaking of that, though, I'm going to move on to the logicals. This one was really funny, and I literally just realized it before I started filming because I was like, oh, it's so cute that at the end, Wong finally laughs at Steven's joke. But it was such a dumb joke. It's so funny that Wong's sense of humor is so stupid like that. But then I was like, wait, he kind of laughed too long and like too hard for a dumb joke like that. It wasn't a chuckle. It was like a really hard forced laugh. And I was thinking that it's because he works for Steven now. Like the Ancient One died and now Steven's his boss. So he has to laugh because earlier in the movie, he was like, the people who thought you were funny, did they work for you? That was like an interesting revelation that I had literally just now before I started filming. So anyway, I really liked that. This is just like a little thing, but I really like, and it's not a logic hole. I like that it logistically continues, I guess, the continuation of it. But I really like the way that Steven's hands still shake even though he's mastered the mystic arts. Like he's literally, what is he, like the protector of the sanctum? I don't remember what it's called right now. But his hands still shake like well into Endgame, probably beyond. I haven't watched Multiverse of Madness at all recently because of reasons, but probably in that one too. Anyway, his hands shake like all the time. And I think Benedict does such a good job of making it subtle, but it's still there. Like he's a really good actor for that. And I wonder also, I guess this would be like a technicality, but I wonder, like if you make yourself shake a lot, I wonder if now Benedict's hands just shake or it's like a tick. I don't know. Anyway, a question I had, and it might just be stupid, but how did nobody think to turn back time on the pages of the book itself? And like maybe that was a choice because once Caecilius ripped it out, they're like, uh-oh, nobody should use this spell. We'll just leave them ripped out. But like no one thought to reverse time on the pages itself. And even if they did think about it and they're like, let's not because we don't want anyone else to use this spell. It's in the book of like, they should have known that somebody could have done it, you know what I mean? And I guess Strange wasn't supposed to use the book, but like I just keep better eye on it. Like maybe if it's only Wong and he has to sleep, get another librarian for the nighttime, you know what I mean? If there are books that important and pages that important that you can't read. I just thought that was dumb. Anyway, another question I had is, does everybody get a relic? Because if so, that's a lot of relics. Everyone just gets their own personal relic that they get to keep. Or is it because Doctor Strange is extra special, but he just like assumed that he gets a relic, so I'm assuming everybody gets one? There's a lot of masters of the mystic arts, so like, does everybody get a relic? Because Mordo had a relic and maybe he was also special. I just don't know. I wish that they specified that more because I can't imagine that there's that many special fancy relics that everybody gets them. And there's more people joining all the time. And there's like different sanctums throughout the world. Whatever. Anyway, I do really like Christine's character. She's so good at her job, first of all, because Steven comes in and he's like, I've been stabbed. And she's like, okay, I'm on it. And then he comes to her in the astral plane, freaks her the fuck out. And he's like, well, I am dying though, so I need you to keep going. And she's like, right, I gotta lock in. She's just so professional. She gets it. But she's like currently freaking out and is still doing her job. So I kind of love that for her. I think Christine needs more praise. But anyway, this is another little thing. And this is just how I feel in general in the world. Every time that Steven crashes out, like they're minor crash outs. One of them was really big. But every time that he's like, it's Doctor Strange. That's so real. I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, that's so pretentious. He just wants to be called doctor. I feel like people say that about doctors in the real world too. And sometimes it is pretentious, but also they earned it. You know what I mean? Doctor school, what is it? Getting your PhD or whatever the fuck? I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but to get that amount of schooling and then that much student loans, probably, you kind of earned the right to be like, no, fucking call me doctor because that's what I am. You know what I mean? Like if I became a doctor, you better fucking call me doctor all the time. I worked hard for that shit. You know what I mean? So I feel like that one's valid. I would crash out more than he does probably if I went to doctor school. But I guess he has a photographic memory, so it's pretty easy for him. That's why he's so pretentious about it. But anyway, speaking of his photographic memory though, thank God he was so eager to learn and it was so easy for him to retain the information because Caecilius like did not hesitate to just straight up attack the sanctums. And if Doctor Strange was the guy who was supposed to take over and he was like the important person, if he had been trying to train at the same rate as everybody else and he had not been reading as much as he did and like literally reading in his sleep in the astral plane, that's crazy, then they would have been fucked. Like they'd all be dead. Dormammu would have taken over. And so, oh, and also thank God Strange was reading the book with the Eye of Agamemnon, because then he knew how to turn back the time for Dormammu and then also get in the time loop with Dormammu. Like it was kind of perfect. He could have like not been trying as hard, you know, if he was at a normal rate of everybody else. I think I'm talking too much. Anyway, the last thing I have for the logic is Mordo. Firstly, I think he's valid in being upset that the Ancient One was taking like power from the dark dimension. I feel like that's fair because she was preaching, don't ever take from the dark dimension. This is bad. Caecilius is bad. He is the fallen one, I want to call him, but that's just because I think it's cool. Anyway, and she was like, don't ever do that. And then she was literally doing it. So I feel like that's really fair. Like I'd be pissed too. What's not fair, I think, is taking other people's powers. That's fucking wild. In the end credit scene, like the last one, and he's taking that guy's power back and then he cripples him again. That's fucked. Like that's his own internal power that he found, you know what I mean? And he's like, you don't deserve all this power. There's too many people practicing the mystic arts, so I'm going to take all their powers away. Like where did he come up with that? How crazy did he get that he was like, yes, this is my life's purpose, to take power from everybody because there's too many? Like what does that mean? And then also, this is the logic portion of it, they didn't continue that storyline at all. Like where did that go? He just like took that guy's power and he was like, this is my sacred mission. Yes, I'm going to take everybody's power. And then what? They still haven't done anything with it. I'll talk about it later when I get to it, but Multiverse of Madness just really fucked up everything. I'm so convinced that the people who made it did not watch Doctor Strange. I know for a fact they didn't watch WandaVision, which is why it doesn't line up at all. But I feel like they didn't even watch Doctor Strange either. They were just like, this could be a cool movie. Let's make this. It has nothing to do with anything that has ever happened in the MCU ever. I have so much to say about that movie, but I'll wait until we get there. I just feel like, where did that plot line go? You know what I mean? They lost it. And I wish that they would come back to it because that feels very important. Anyway, moving on to the technicalities. The first one I have, and this is the big one for me personally, Benedict Cumberbatch. I don't know what movie magic they're pulling in this and also in Sherlock. I used to watch Sherlock a lot as a kid and I thought he was so good looking in Sherlock. I thought he was so handsome. I would look up pictures of him because I am a freak. I am like a very actor oriented person and I will look up pictures of actors that I really like. I used to print them out as a kid and like I would save them on my phone. Anyway, I used to look up pictures of him and I was like, that's not what he looks like. What the fuck? And in this movie too, like he's so handsome. I think he's really good looking in this movie. But that's not the same Benedict I've seen walking down the red carpet, because that one's an alien. I don't understand what movie magic they're pulling for him, that his face looks normal in the movies. And in every other picture I've seen him in, he looks, I don't even know how to describe it. He kind of like, I'm thinking specifically of, there is one picture of him in a white suit on the red carpet, but like something about the way that he looks on the red carpet is not the same face. He's just too stretched and his eyes are so far apart in real life. I wonder if they like edit it in the movies, because I'm literally looking, okay, I'm talking about this too much, I'm sorry, but like I'm looking at a side to side picture of him as Doctor Strange and him as Sherlock and him on the red carpet, and why are his eyes so far apart on the red carpet? Like what are they doing in Sherlock and in Doctor Strange that his eyes look normal? I think that's what it is for me. And no shame to people who have eyes that are far apart. It's just like, if he had looked like that in the movie, I wouldn't have noticed. You know what I mean? Like Anya Taylor-Joy, I think that's her name. She has eyes that are really far apart, but they don't like edit her eyes in the movies, so it looks normal. Like that's just her face. But Benedict Cumberbatch, he looks so different. I gotta know what they're doing. Anyway, this is a very small thing, and I feel like everybody has thought it, but I want to say it anyway, is that whoever made this movie had to have been on some sort of drugs, some sort of hallucinogenics, mushrooms. I don't know if LSDs are hallucinogenics, but maybe. Specifically the scene where the Ancient One is taking him through the astral plane and telling him all about the mystic arts and everything before she throws him out. Who came up with all of that shit? Like that's kind of deep in your mind fucked up stuff, you know, when the fingers are growing on his hands and then he falls into his own eyeball and is like pulling on stringy spaghetti looking shit. I don't know, it's just kind of icky and really cool. And then people had to like make that, you know what I mean? Like they had to CGI and or animated. I don't know how it works, but like someone had to come up with the concept and then someone had to make the concept a thing. And that's kind of crazy. Back to Caecilius real quick. The trap that he gets put into when Doctor Strange is like united with the levitation cape. I don't remember its name. And he throws that trap on Caecilius and it like locks him into the kneeled position with the thing on his mouth. That's a really cool contraption. That was a really cool idea. Whoever thought of that, good job. It's also really cool, the choreography that they've had in this movie. The way that the bad guys will like flip and do kicks and run across the walls. And specifically the scene where they're fighting in the astral plane with Doctor Strange and one of the bad guys, I don't remember what they're called. That was really cool, the concept. And the way that they were bumping into things and it was wrecking Christine's thing. What I find interesting though, and I guess this could have been in the logic, but I don't understand why when Stephen is talking to the Ancient One before she dies, time is slowed down. But when he's on the table and fighting the guy, it's real time and they're like fucking up Christine's stuff, you know? They literally pushed through her and she could have messed up whatever the needle thing that she was doing. I don't know, not a doctor, but it's probably just that like he didn't know how to slow down time or like he was busy beating the shit out of somebody, but like that scene was really cool. Anyway, another thing that I really like about Steven is his music facts. I really love that they make it a point to show that he is really good at memorizing music and he knows like the album and what side of the disc it's on and what year it came out and whatever. It's never helpful to him. That does not come into play at all in the entire movie. And I love it. It's just so relatable, I think. For me, my like music thing that Steven has is MCU actors and kind of just like actors in general. But like I have so many useless facts about actors. It'll never be helpful. Sometimes I'll talk to my friends about it and they're like, I don't know who that is. And I'm like, no, it's fine. I'll just kill myself. But like, I really feel like it's so relatable that is never helpful in his life. It's just a fact about him. I see myself in that a little bit. Anyway, speaking of Christine though, Rachel McAdams is such a great actress because that's literally Regina George. Like, what do you mean? She's so versatile. And I know that's what acting is, but sometimes actors are put into the same roles over and over and over again. You know what I mean? Like the typecasting. But Rachel McAdams can kind of do it all. She's Regina George. She's in this. She is in a bunch of other stuff that I've seen because I really like her. My favorite thing that Rachel McAdams is in is called About Time. And if you haven't seen it, please go watch it. It is probably the greatest love story of all time. And I will die on that hill. And that's not important. So I'm going to move on. Okay, this is a very small thing. And I think whoever decided to put this in the movie is a little bit fucked up, but kind of cool. It was the scene when Stephen was reversing time so that way Dormammu wouldn't take over the sanctum. There was a lady who had like flown from her car and was on the sidewalk dead. And as time was reversing, they made a point to show her fly back into her car and the car's driving backwards. That's fucked. Whoever put that in the movie, your head is a little sick and twisted and I kind of love it. So thanks. I just wanted to stress that specifically because I think my jaw dropped. I was very shocked that they would put that in there. You know, somebody had to like edit that into the movie. You know what I mean? Fucked. But true. Anyway, this movie is important because now we've met 5 of the 6 Infinity Stones officially. So in this one, we've got the Eye of Agamemnon, right? Which, by the way, I still have beef with the Eye of Agamemnon because it fucked up my girl Wanda. But anyway, then we have met the Tesseract, which is in a whole bunch of different movies. It's in like 3 movies, I think. Anyway, then we met the Scepter and then the Ether and the Orb. That's 5 of the 6. We really haven't met the Soul Stone, which if you've seen Infinity War and Endgame, there's a reason for that and it's very sad. But anyway, the last thing I have before I move on is just a statement. I just wish that I could learn the mystic arts. I feel like in movies like this, they always make it seem so easy to just like tap into this, like, it's like a chakra thing. Like you open up all your chakras and suddenly you're like a master of the mystic arts. And then if you like train hard enough, you can get better at it. They make it seem so simple. They're like, if you just embrace every aspect of it, like the way that the Ancient One was like, everyone who has ever written these things, like the chakra picture and the MRI and whatever else they were looking at, the acupuncture, she was like, they were only looking at part of the whole, but if you put it all together, then you're a wizard. And I feel like they always make it so easy. And I know magic isn't real in this world, but like, I want to just do that. Why can't I? It's kind of fucked. Anyway, that's all I have for the technicalities. Moving on to the most chaotic moment. I feel like everybody would agree with me. The most chaotic moment is absolutely the time loop. where he goes, Dormammu, I've come to bargain. Everything about that is so chaos. Like, that's literally the point. And I really love that the concept of time freaked Dormammu out so much. I'm sure Steven died like 100 times. Probably they just didn't show every time. And I didn't count every time that they showed, but it was a lot. But I feel like it was very quick, the passage of it, I guess. You know what I mean? Even though it was a time loop, but I feel like for Dormammu, it was very quick. But like the concept of time itself, he was like, oh fuck, I can't do this. I'll do anything you say. I just think that's really funny. I also wonder though if Steven remembers every time loop, because that's a lot of different intricate and awful ways to die. And he kind of seemed like he was out of breath towards the end. So maybe he does, and that's pretty sad. But that's absolutely the most chaotic moment. And if you disagree with me, what's wrong with you? But I love that scene, and that's it. That's all I got. Sorry, guys. If you'd like to follow me on social media, I'm on Instagram and on TikTok as PHILM PHUCKERY. And if you're listening on Spotify or watching on YouTube, just know that this podcast exists on both. And if you are enjoying what you're listening to, please interact with it at all. Like, subscribe, share, download, comment, listen again while you're on a road trip or something. I don't know. I'll leave you with a quote. This is one that is not important at all, but really stuck in my brain, probably because of Mads Mikkelsen. But I really like the scene where he's like Mr. and he's waiting for Doctor Strange to say his name, and he goes Doctor, and he goes Mr. Doctor, and he goes, it's strange, and he goes, maybe, but I'm not one to judge. I just love him so much. Please go watch Hannibal. Anyway, I will see you next week for Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Okay, love you, bye.